Factoring is like undoing distribution. Remember that distribution is when we have something right in front of those parentheses and we have to multiply it because it's next to those parentheses by both pieces or however many pieces are in the parentheses. So when we factor, we're going to be going the other direction. So instead of multiplying, we're going to be dividing to see what actually belongs in front of those parentheses. So let's do an example so you can see what I'm saying. We're going to start off with Schoology slide number 5, and we're going to do this top example. 3x minus 12. So the first thing is we want to see if they have something in common that I can pull out in front of the parentheses so that when I multiply it in, I get the 3x and I get that minus 12. So can I divide both of these pieces by something? And yes, I can. Both of these have a 3 in common. I can divide both of those pieces by 3. So when I have 3 divided by 3, I get 1, and then there's an x. And then when I have negative 12 divided by 3, I get a negative 4. And the way that we would write that is now that we have the 3 that we had in common, that goes out front, and our leftovers go in our parentheses. And a better way to write that would just be x instead of 1x minus 4. This answer is the best, most simplified way to write it, but because of how we have to input our answers on Schoology, there's an extra symbol right there, that plus sign. So go find at the bottom your 3, which is your greatest common factor, the biggest piece that I could divide out. 3 goes out front. And then our leftover of an x and then a negative 4 get popped into those remaining boxes. Now let's do another example before you have to do one on your own. So this time I want to look at both this piece, the 10x squared, and the negative 3x. Both of those pieces, do they have something in common? And I'm going to move this up a little bit. Can I divide the coefficient part by something, a 10 and a 3, and get an answer that comes out nice and pretty, even, no decimals, no fractions? And the answer is no, I can't. So we don't have that, but they do have something else in common. This one has x to the second power, which looks like this, and this one has an x. So do they have something in common? Yes, they both have an x in common. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that x and I'm going to pull it out front. So that x is going to go out in the front right here. Now what's left over, if I pull that x out front, I still have the 10, but I don't have two x's anymore. I just have the 1x in this first term. Over on the second part of my binomial, I had a negative 3, and there was an x, but I took it away and I took it out front, so there's no x's left over. So in this case, we didn't pull out a number for our greatest common factor. I ended up pulling out the x. And again, this is the very best way to write this answer. And that might help you go back. You might need to go back and look at your number 4 to see if number 4 was simplified correct in that true false, now that we've talked about that. And we're going to pop these answers into these boxes. So we're going to start off with the x. You can reuse these answers. And then we're going to have our 10x inside the parentheses. And then we have a negative 3 in that last spot. And again, plus a negative 3 is not as simplified as we want it, but since we're doing it on Schoology, that's the best way and most consistent way that we can type in answers for you. The one that I have in the cloud over here is the best way to write your answers, and that's how you would see it like in a multiple choice situation. You are going to finish the bottom question on your own. Use the two examples that we did above to help you. Look for things that both of these pieces have in common and pull it out to the front.